Hey everybody, just seeing some things online and thought I'd go ahead and put some information out there that I think could be useful to some of you. We're out here just north of the Grand Canyon, just enjoying, or I guess south of the Grand Canyon, just enjoying the beautiful, beautiful weather of northern Arizona on a spring morning. Sounds like I got a helicopter about to fly over. Sorry if that gets noisy. But I wanted to go ahead and put a little bit of information out just because some things that I'm seeing posted. You want to get to a point that you can retire from your business. You want to get to a point that it runs on its own, those types of things. It's going to require that you get your head right on a few things. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is avatar customers, right? So avatar customers, and that's who we're building something toward. Now, when we talk about customers, there are three different kinds of customers that every single business must have to be able to self-function and to be able to scale, even to be able to sell. So there's three customers that every business must have and must have a full understanding of how they work. And those three customers are your external customer, your internal customer, and your terminal customer. So your external customer, that's the person that you're going to actually do business with, that you're going to exchange value back and forth with, that you're going to actually get money from, right? And exchange services for money or products for money or whatever it might be, right? Because all businesses run on this basic kind of thing here. And so you got to have your external customer. And then your second customer, and I'm going to do a couple other videos, I think, on this and explain this a little bit more. And then your second customer is your internal customer. And your internal customer is the customer that you intend to hire. Employees? Yeah, employees. Well, Bo, employees aren't customers, those are employees. And there is your problem. More often than not, too many entrepreneurs do not understand that their internal customer, the person they intend to hire, is in fact a customer. And I'm going to get into these a little bit more. And then your terminal customer. Your terminal customer is that final customer that every single business must have if it's going to be successful. And that terminal customer is who is going to buy this thing when it's all said and done, whether it be that I retire or whether it be that I sell this thing for a profit and move on to something else. It doesn't matter, right? You have to have a terminal customer. And as we build these things out in our business, we have to understand that all three of these customers matter, and every decision that we make somehow impacts all three of these customers. And if you're not paying attention to all three of these customers, you're probably going to shortchange one of them. And if you shortchange one of them, you are going to suffer, period. All right, I'm going to get into some of these other videos and kind of go into more depth on these. So keep following along for this. All right, so I put out a video talking about the three customers that every entrepreneur and every business must have. And I've said this for years, but I think it's time that I kind of delve into it and put some actual content out on this. So the customer, the first customer that you have to focus on is your external customer. This one's kind of obvious, it's evident. In fact, there's all kinds of courses out there teaching how to identify and build products around your external customer. So I don't really want to dig too much into it. Beyond that, it's kind of like almost a no-duh customer, right? It's the one that we intend to actually transact with, right? And exchange money for products or services. Like I said, I'm up here just enjoying the south rim of the Grand Canyon, walking through the forest up here this morning real early. Just had my coffee and went for a walk and putting on a couple miles, try to stay in shape for hunting season coming up. Got some good ones coming up. Excited about that. But right now, just kind of taking a walk and recording some stuff. You can get to a point where your business and your investments will allow you to do this. Your business can grow to a point that it can be sellable or self-operate to where you can enjoy life a little bit. But you got to understand these things, your customers. So the first one is your external customer. Again, not going to get too detailed on this because there's a lot of content out in the world already for this, and it's kind of a no-duh one. The person you intend to transact with. But I'm just going to say, I'll say this much on it, right? And we'll just do one video on this. I might dig a little bit deeper into some of the other customers, but this one This one I won't get as much into. So that is your external customer, right? Who you intend to transact with. You have to identify them. Well, it's just people with money, Bo. No, right? If we just say, I'm going to sell something, but I don't know who I'm going to sell it to, you're going to struggle to sell it. That's just all there is to it. Think about this, just not only in the product sense, but the sense of who we're going to deal with in primary. Nordstrom's and Walmart both sell the same types of products, but they sell them to two very different people, and they have a very different intent of direction with who it is. A Nordstrom's customer is never going to be comfortable in a Walmart. It's just all there is to it. Nordstrom's has identified kind of a higher level of customer, a more bougie type of customer, someone who doesn't care as much about the price, but they want to be able to shop at a nice store, and they want to have the live piano music in the background and tile floors, not just, stained concrete floor in a warehouse, right? They want to have a nice environment. They want to have salespeople that ask, can I help you? And that type of thing. I've been in Nordstrom's. It's funny because you'll be at a section looking at something, right? And they'll come up and they'll ask if they can help you find what you're looking for. Well, obviously I kind of already found it, but that's part of the experience, is that attentive staff, right? And so they've identified a certain kind of customer, and Walmart has identified a customer too, which is funny because they sell the exact same products. A lot of times, not all the products, because Walmart has some lower level products as well, but Walmart's upper level products are Nordstrom's bottom level products. They're both the same products in there, but Walmart has identified a different customer as well. And so they have targeted a particular type of customer, and that customer is the customer who's very cost conscious. And so when you walk into a Walmart, it's very evident, right, that they haven't put the same level of effort into making it fancy, right? They haven't put the same level of effort into a serving staff, right? They just don't have that, right? And because they have not invested in those things, Walmart is cheaper, right? And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with choosing to serve either customer. If you want to try to serve the people that are a little more affluent and that want a better experience, that's one customer base. And if you want to serve the people that are looking for, savings and keeping costs down, that's another customer base. And there's nothing wrong with choosing to serve either. But I'm going to tell you, there is something wrong with not identifying which one you're going to serve. Your pricing is going to have problems. Your product's going to have problems. Your customer experience is going to have problems. You have to know which one you're going to serve. You have to. Right? I think of Disneyland versus, going to the carnival in the mall parking lot, right? Both of them have rides. Ain't the same thing, right? They're very, very different on who they are intending to serve, right? Nothing wrong with choosing to serve either. Don't think I'm judging you because you chose to serve one and I chose to serve another. I'm not. I am going to judge you, though, if you don't know who you're serving. You have messed up royally if you don't know who you're serving. I'm a plumber by trade. I've built mostly plumbing businesses, a few other types of businesses over my life, but mostly plumbing businesses. And I have started choosing, or early on, I chose to serve kind of the more budget conscious. I have found personally that I prefer to serve people that are not all the way to the top crust, but somewhere in the middle income. Those are just the people I prefer to serve. I like dealing with them. There's a lot of them in the United States of America, in most areas, even in the United States of America. There's plenty of them, so that you've got plenty of customers to work with, which, by the way, is one of the things you want to choose. It's something that there's lots and lots of. So there's plenty of them to serve, and they just tend to be, for me, and for the type of business I like to run, and the type of employees I like to hire, they tend to be a little bit easier customers to deal with. So I prefer kind of a middle-class customer. When I was doing new construction, that actually wasn't the case. I actually chose to serve the highest level. That's what I always wanted to go for, was the ultra high-end work. And when I went to service plumbing, I chose to kind of lower that. Oh, look, there we go. I told you. See him right there? Woo. That's one of the tour helicopters up here. I'm flying out of Tucson, maybe you say it, Arizona. I wonder what customer level they've chosen. I can tell you it's pretty expensive, so we know who they've chosen, right? But here's the thing that you get to, right? You got to choose who it is you're going to serve, and then you build a product specific to them, your external customer. All right, you guys do well out there in your businesses. I'm gonna encourage you, think about who it is you're serving, and once you do that, now we can geek out on all kinds of things, like what is it that they like? What kind of employees do they like dealing with? Customer service representatives do they like dealing with? What colors do they like? Where do they shop, so we can know where to advertise to them? What time are they at work? What time are they not at work? By the way, you watch midday television shows, and midday television shows have a specific type of commercial. You watch the evening stuff, specific type of commercial. You watch sports events, specific type of commercial. Why is that? Why is it that it seems like certain times of day and certain channels, like I've been told I have an old soul, right? I like watching like the old reruns of like old shows, Leave It to Beaver and all that. And when you watch those on television, guess what you get all kinds of commercials for? You get all kinds of commercials for medicine. Why do you get all kinds of commercials for medicine? Because it's old people watching it and they need medicine, right? That's because they know who their avatar customer is. So if you know who your avatar customer is, you know where to advertise. You know what to advertise with. You know what colors to advertise with. You know if you're advertising to men, you advertise one way. If you're advertising to women, you advertise another, because you know who it is your customer is. So your external customer, not going to get too much into it. Know who they are. Really, really identify them. Dial that in. You're going to find that you have far greater success if you will know who your external customer is and really geek out on what it is they enjoy, what it is they need, what it is they want, what it is that makes them uncomfortable, what it is that makes them uncomfortable. So really delve into that. You'll find there's a great level of success in really digging to that. Well, here I am still in the woods around our camp on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I'm going to continue in on this subject of your 3 customers as a businessman. And the second customer is your internal customer. And this is one that I think is actually more important than customer number 1, which is your external customer. I think if you can solve this one, in most businesses at least, most of the businesses I've consulted in, worked in, etc., in most businesses, and for multiple different types of businesses, by the way, I've done mostly home services, but I've done some things outside. I've done some things in retail. I've done some things in fabrication. I've done some things in I worked in trucking for a while, consulting with a trucking company. So a bunch of different things. This customer, I think, actually is more important in most industries than your external customer, and that's your internal customer, the person you intend to hire. And here's part of the reason why I think this one requires a little bit more attention. It's because I don't think that most businesses have any idea this one even is something that should be on their radar. I just recently got called in to work with a business, and they're doing about 50 million a year. And when I mentioned their internal customer and what the product for their internal customer was, if they knew what the product for their internal customer was, they looked at me completely blank-eyed. They're doing about 55 million a year. They have multiple locations across multiple states, and they hadn't even considered an internal customer or creating a product for them. And it blows my mind, because if you're not wrapping your head around how to create a product for your internal customer and if you're not wrapping your head around trying to serve them, and what it's going to take to actually communicate to them, advertise to them, market to them, what it's going to take to keep them happy where they're at, I don't know how you expect to recruit or retain. I mean, like, I really don't know how you expect to do it. So I'm going to be short on this video because I'm going to actually do a series on your internal customer, because I think it's that important. And not only is it that important, I think it's that untouched. Like I said, on your external customer, there's all kinds of people out there doing, like, even full courses on how to work with your external customer. But your internal customer, like, I can't find hardly anything on it. Almost nobody even talks about this, right? So make no mistake, recruiting is a sales process. Absolutely is a sales process. And you cannot sell something if you have nothing to sell, right? Now, sometimes, pause. I think the best salespeople can sell nothing. I don't know that that's a compliment, but in my mind, right, I've always been really good at sales. It's something that has been something I really have been very successful in life on. But here's what I do. Here's why I'm good at sales. Because I don't sell anything. I have risen to the top of pretty much every place I've been in sales at in my life, and I've never sold a thing in my life. I haven't. What I've done is I've found a product in their line that I believe enough in, that I get excited about, and I just share that excitement with people, and it sells itself. You can't do that if you don't have a product worth being excited about. Just can't be. So if you own a business and you do not know what product you are offering to your internal customer, I'm just going to stop you right there and say massive problems are on your horizon. You need to know not only to your internal customer in general, but if you've got multiple layers in management, administrative, in field operations, and strategic sides, you have to have a product for all of them. In fact, I would venture to say you shouldn't have a product for all of them. You should have options of products for all of them, right? So I'm going to stop this video a little bit short. It's not going to be as long because I want to stop on this note. First thing is, what products are you offering to your internal customer? By products, I'm talking about what benefits, what hours, what tools, what environment are they working in, what culture are they working in, all of it, right? What products are you offering to your internal customer? If you do not know that, let's stop here. Let's think on that. And I'm going to just drop it right there because I want you to mull on what products are you offering to your internal customer? What are we selling them, right? Now, good sales doesn't sell. It just talks about a product that we know is good. So what product are you offering your internal customer? That's thing number one. Okay, let's talk about one more thing about your internal customer. I've got one more thing. There's a bunch more we're going to talk about, but this is one thing we're going to talk about. And one thing is, when we're talking about your internal customer, who is it that they want to be led by? Obviously, we're talking about our employees, right? And we know that we have to offer them something more than a job, right? The days of men and women working because they felt that they had a duty to, they're over, right? I heard people say it's so hard to find employees, and if you can find them, you can't find good ones. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. The problem is that we're not offering employees good enough reasons to be there, right? I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but and I think there are good and bad things about it. But these current generations that we are currently working with and dealing with, they don't want just a job. They don't have interest in just working to work, which there's negatives to that. But here's the good thing to it, right? They're actually choosy about causes that they want to be part of, and leaders that they want to be led by. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? So when we're talking about our internal customer, one of the things that we have to identify is who is it and what would inspire them to actually do big things and be part of big things for their work, right? And far too often, I think what we do is we offer them a job and we try to put good hours on it and a comparable, benefits package. And we're going to pay them, somewhere in industry standard, which I'm going to get a whole nother series of videos on industry standard, because I hate the term industry standard. I think industry standard has become, again, I'm going to do a series of videos on this. I think industry standard has become code word for how we can all be mediocre together, right? Somebody's got to challenge industry standard from time to time. And one of the things you got to challenge it on is what you're paying your staff, right? So the reality of the matter is, if you look at the median income in 1985 and you look at the median income in 2025, and then you look at what especially the trades have increased, it is not equivalent. In that period of time, the median increase, you look at things like inflation, the trades have not increased at the rate of inflation or the median income. The trades especially have been badly battered by it. And I'm just going to call you out that are trades business owners. It's your fault. It's your fault, right? You have worked so hard to give your customer a good deal that you've ripped your employee off, and shame on you. Right? So what kind of leader do they want to be led by? Do they want to be led by somebody who's more interested in figuring out how to extract at a negative from them? Or do they want to be led by somebody who truly cares about, their life? And we all fail at these things and we all win at these things. My employees, I always get excited when I hear about them buying their homes, when I see their new vehicles. Like when I find out they buy a new car, I want to see it, right? I want to be part of that, right? When we had a guy that he was really into motorcycles. I'm not even into motorcycles. I want to see his motorcycles, right? That's just what it is, because that's us winning together. Right? So who do they want to be led by? Do they want to be led by somebody who's an inspirational leader, or somebody who's, just trying to make money, right? No, they want to be led by somebody who intends to change things for the positive. They want to be led by somebody who actually cares about them and their family and their well-being. And I'm just telling you, if you want good employees, you need to work on you. Right? Your internal customer needs to be led by people who actually care. When you hire managers, don't hire people that just punch numbers. Hire people that actually care about them and want to lead them to a better life. Right? One of the things you're going to need to understand if you want to serve your internal customer well is who it is that they want to be led by. That means you as an owner. That means who you recruit as a management staff, which, by the way, are internal customers too, who is leading them, right? So this all comes down, right? So as we build layers of leadership and management, which even the term management, we use the term management. I far more love the idea of coaching, right? And because this is, we're a team playing for success is what we're doing. We're a team playing for success. And so your internal customer, you gotta have the care for them. You gotta have the love for them, for you to improve as a leader, right? To seek out what it is they want to be led by and grow in those areas yourself, and to encourage your leadership team, your management team, to grow themselves in those same levels, right? And but first you got to identify what that internal customer is going to need, and then you grow in those areas for their benefit so that you can serve them in the way that they need to be served. Then you'll find it is easier to recruit than it ever has been before, because they want to be led by you. Things like, one of my favorite things to do is to go to where people that I need to recruit are, right? You got to figure out where they are, right? And you figure out where they are, and you go to where they are and ask them if they're happy there. Now, especially when you're dealing with men, guys are rarely ever going to say, no, I hate it here. And the guys who do, you don't want them anyways. But they're going to kind of give you, yeah, that's okay, right? And so then you're going to ask follow-up questions, not for answers. See, here's the thing. You're not actually looking for an answer. You're inspiring as a leader. So you're going to ask them questions like, are they giving you good tools? Do you have good vehicles to work in? How's the office environment? Right? And don't ask all these questions at once. Ask one, maybe two of these qualifying questions. One of the things I've learned about interacting with people is ask qualifying questions. ask qualifying questions. And qualifying questions aren't necessarily for answers. Qualifying questions are, as much as anything, to get the person to think in a way that maybe they hadn't thought before. So we're going to ask qualifying questions like, are you happy there? We're going to ask questions like, are you happy there? And then we're going to give qualifying questions to that. Are they taking good care of you? I remember one time as a plumber, I was working for a company, and I was paid purely on commission. That's all I got paid was commission. And they had me in a 360,000 mile Ford Econoline from like 1989 that broke down like every other week. It was hurting my family because they wouldn't invest the money to go buy another truck, right? It was hurting my family. Oh, and by the way, I was their top sales guy. And I'm driving, and all of us in the company were driving beater trucks because they wouldn't invest the money. And while the owner drove a brand new pickup and bought brand new houses and all that, and he has every right to do that. But what had he done? He had failed to grow as a leader, to lead and supply things that took care of his people so that they could succeed too, right? So part of it is you have to grow as a leader, right? So identify your internal customer, your ideal internal customer, right? What that perfect internal customer is, and then become the kind of leader that they're going to want to be with. And you're going to find that it's a lot easier to lead them and to find them to come to you. I think of it often. I think of they say that Crazy Horse led his men against Custer. He was outnumbered and outgunned, right? Because they had Gatling guns and cannons and all that. Custer did. He was outnumbered and outgunned, and yet he led his men into battle with these words: "It's a good day to die." And that's the kind of thing that just rallies men, that he's willing to just get on his horse and go out against insurmountable odds. And that's how you rally men to where you beat insurmountable odds. I think of Chesty Puller, a very, very famous Marine, Chesty Puller. And one of his real famous situations, he was surrounded on all sides by the Japanese. They were almost out of ammunition, and his guys were just completely disheartened, ready to give up. And Chesty Puller stood up and rallied his guys by saying, "Man, this is great. We can get up in any direction we look, we can shoot them. We don't have to look for them. We don't have to search for them. They're everywhere. We can shoot them everywhere. It's great." And they won. If you want to rally people, if you want to find people to come to you and do great things, you've got to grow as a leader. Your internal customer needs you and to be a good leader and to recruit good leaders into your company. And that is something that you're going to have to achieve if you really want to grow a good team. That is about your internal customer. You got to focus on your internal customer. All right, here's a brief one about your internal customer, right? So one of the things you have to understand with your internal customer, if you want to be able to attract really good talent, is you need to align your internal customer with your external customer, right? So things like our last home service business, we found that most of our customers, I mean, like in the high 70s, most of our customers were women from the age of 50 down to 35. And so that being the case, when I was hiring plumbers, right, the plumbing company, when I was hiring plumbers, I particularly looked for guys that were in their early to mid 20s and that were fit. Right? It sounds terrible, but it really is true, right? What's she going to want in her home? Is she going to want some old haggard guy that smells like cigarette smoke? Or is she going to want some guy who's, 400 pounds and sweating like a pig and got his crack hanging out and can't keep a shirt tucked in? Or is she going to want a young fit guy? What's she going to want, right? So one of the things you have to do is you have to align your internal customer to your external customer. So that being the case, you need to know who your external customer is. All right, so once you've identified your external customer, now you're going to create an internal customer. What you're going to find is that if your external customer and your internal customer are aligned, you're going to have more satisfaction of both your external customer and your internal customer, because your internal customer, right, your employees, they don't want to work with a bunch of miserable, angry customers. They don't want to. But a lot of times that happens, the dissatisfaction and the unhappy, miserable customers that just aren't any fun to work with for your internal customers, a lot of times that happens not because people are cranky, but because you have failed as an owner to align your internal and your external customer. So as we work with our internal customer and identify our internal customer, one of the things we have to do is create alignment between our internal customer and our external customer. So think about it. You go to the gym, right? Who works at the gym? Right? Are they people who aren't healthy? Are they people that are out of shape? Are they people who obviously are not taking care of their body? Or are they people that are in shape? You think we go to a super high end, we go to the exotic car dealer, right? Where they got the Porsches and the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris. Those are kind of fun to walk through. You go through one of those. Who's there? Is it guys that are in beat up, tattered clothes, or are they guys that are in name brand fancy clothes? You go to the Western wear store. Who do you have there? Some guy in, skinny jeans, or, and his Vans on, and a flat brim hat on backwards? Or do you find a guy in boots and a belt buckle and Wranglers and all? No, it's all about customer alignment. So we're aligning in our internal and our external customers. And when we align our internal and our external customers, we find that there's satisfaction to both of them at a far higher level. So one of the things you got to do when you're considering who your internal customer is you have to consider who your external customer is and how we can align the two of them. And we'll find that it's easier to recruit them, find them, and retain them if we make alignment between our internal and our external customers.